I'm gonna apologize for that. My tech person told me that I was live on another Facebook page, and so I thought I wasn't live on my Facebook page. So we stopped the broadcast. At any rate, so we're starting again. Um, this week is my third Caribbean digital episode. In the first week, we did, well, pretty much I was just talking about how I came to this, how I got into digital marketing and so forth. In the second week, we talked about payments, how to get paid in Trinidad and Tobago. And as much as it isn't necessarily along the marketing lines, I felt as though it was something that we needed to touch on because the reason we're doing all of this is to get paid. And if you don't know how to get paid, it doesn't make any sense. So that's week one, week two. This week, I'm going to be talking about, does every business need marketing? And the reason I'm going to talk about that is that somebody asked me that question last week. And I felt as though, that might be an actual good episode to to have. And so this week I'm doing that. So couple of things. First week we had to address, things like lighting. The second week we addressed sound. This week we are addressing, I think, my so-called not so perky attitude. So y'all let me know during the show or after if I am perky enough to bring out the information in a way that's not boring. All right. So what I want to do before I sort of get into anything is to kind of see who's online, who's not, say hello and that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna, go to the screen. So let's see who I see. Let's see who I see. Who's online? Who's online? I'm gonna refresh the page and see if I see anyone. Okay. Hi Akila. How are you doing? Great. Fantastic. Nice seeing you here. Let's see if we see anybody else. Mm-hmm. Okay. Ionica, fantastic. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. We are going to get right into it, and as people jump in, we'll talk to them and so forth, and say hey and all that kind of stuff. All right. So let's, without further ado, get into the presentation. Right. So does every small business or does every business need marketing? All right. So that's what we're going to talk about this evening. Does every business need marketing? And I think what I'm going to do while we're here is probably try to add a camera. Let's see if I can add a camera. Can I? Can I add a camera to this? Guess we might have to figure that out later on. Let's see here. All right, so let's see if we can add. Oh, look. So that's me here. And let's see if I can get me in a nice circle. And I'll put me here and I'll talk through the entire program. All right. So does every small business or does every business need marketing? All right. So let me ask you a question before we get into it. Um, how many of you here actually believe um, that every small business needs marketing? By show of hands. Just say yes or no. Does every business need marketing? Yes or no? Okay. So Nika says yes. Akila, yes, no. Really not sure. Okay. All right. So let's get into it. So my answer um, is no. All right. And I sort of lived some of these experiences. So I am going to sort of get into that and then we get into the rest of it. Right? So let me give some examples of businesses I don't necessarily think need marketing. So my mom had or has a catering business. And primarily this business services the government, right? So she has a contract with the government and they tell her, you do X number of meals and we will pay you X amount of money per meal. There's literally nothing my mom can do in the realm of marketing that can change what she does per month until the government decides to change. So, quite frankly, she will not benefit from any marketing. Now, there are a number of other business processes that she could benefit from, right? But marketing is not necessarily one. All right. So, some of those eateries that you see located in downtown Port of Spain or in a lot of areas around the world where there's just like a lot of foot traffic. A lot of those people they sell out every day. They literally need no marketing to do what they need to do, which is to sell. And so I would say some of those types of businesses don't need any marketing either. Um, a friend of mine, her uncle, he's an architect. He's been in this world for quite some time. And he has more business coming to him than he can possibly do anything about. And so for somebody like him, marketing is absolutely totally unnecessary. Now, quite frankly, in the beginning of his career, maybe he did need marketing and maybe he did it or he didn't, I don't know. But now he doesn't need marketing. So every business doesn't necessarily need marketing in the sense of how we typically think about marketing, which is to get clients. So we'll talk about that a little bit further as we go on. Right. So from the list I just gave, we can easily determine that the determinant used to decide whether a business needs marketing or not is its ability to get clients, right? That's what we're basically using. Everything we just talked about a while ago has to do with getting clients. But what if there was more? All right, let's talk about that. What if there was more? What if there were things that people did in marketing that would eventually lead to getting clients, but were not nearly as direct as actually doing the last thing that we typically think of when we think in marketing, right? It's like the last step, promotion, right? Which is when you actually see the stuff on the TV or on Facebook or whatever, right? That's the last step. So let's explore this topic some more by looking at some things I like to call the functions of marketing. And I really want to get into this here because I do think that we need to widen how we think about marketing. How we think about marketing is really promotion, the actual end when you see the stuff that people produce. So, what are the functions of marketing? One, to position or differentiate you or your services against the competition. To explain a complicated product, service, or profession, to create value or justify price, to figure out what to put in a product or how to create a product, to figure out what to name a product, or let's say a book, right? Obviously, a book is a product, to do restorative public relations work for companies and other entities, to do promotion, probably the lowest level skill in marketing, though sometimes it is enough. And I'm talking about this. Every time I think about marketing and I think about promotion, I don't know how many of you all have actually seen The Professional. How many of you all have seen The Professional? It's a movie with a hitman who is trying to protect this young girl. She's about 8. Her name is Matilda. His name is Leon, and he's trying to protect her from this guy who wants to wipe out her entire family. Well, to wipe her out because she's like the last member of the family. How many of you have seen that that movie, The Professional? Just say yes if you've seen it. No if you haven't. Okay. Well, while I'm waiting on that, because we do have some delay, I think about it because Matilda decides to ask Leon how to do what he does. He's a professional hitman. And the first thing that she wanted to do was to kill somebody close up. And one of the things that he said to her was, um, you can't, when you just start, you can't kill somebody from that close up. You have to shoot from all the way out because it's easier. You don't have to worry about escape. You don't have to worry about maybe the person overpowering you and all that kinds of stuff. I sort of think about promotion in the same way when it comes to marketing. There's so many other things that you have to do before you get to promotion that require real skill. Real skill. The very last thing you do is a promotion. But we'll talk a little bit more about that when I get into one of these specific functions of marketing that I liken very much to that situation. So when we look at these functions individually, you'll be able to determine whether or not your business or any business needs marketing. All right, so we have here, now that we've outlined the functions of marketing, it must be noted that to execute any of this with any degree of skill, you must have one thing informing everything you do. One thing that informs everything you do before you get to that last stage called promotion. Research. Research is what's going to inform all these other functions of marketing. Right. So without getting into the weeds of the methodology used to do the research for some previous projects that I'm going to talk about, we'll take a look at some of the results of these projects in an attempt to show how each function of marketing can be applied to help us do better in our businesses. Now, I know obviously my face is sort of blocking some of this stuff, but I'm going to read it out. So don't worry about it. Maybe next time we'll have a green screen thing and so forth. So let's start the ball rolling by starting with what I've listed as the first function of marketing, to position your business. All right. So we're getting into basically kind of sort of like some case studies, right? So the problem in this particular example, right? What was the problem we're trying to solve? So this was a doctor whose focus was naturopathic medicine. And she wants to be, and I'm still using the word wants, it should be wanted, but let's just say she wants to be taken seriously by people who need her services, but are skeptical because they do not understand what she does in relation to what other medical professionals they've grown accustomed to do, right? So you're coming in as a doctor, you're a naturopathic doctor, whatever it is you call yourself. And everybody's accustomed to all these other types of doctors that they have known, regular medical doctors. And so you come and you say you're a naturopathic doctor. Well, people don't necessarily know what that is. And you want them to take you just as seriously as the regular doctors that they have grown up with. That's a marketing problem. How you solve that is a marketing problem. So let's talk about how we sort of went about it. So what did we do? So we sat down, we talked, and she and I talked a lot about, okay, what was going on in her business at the time? How are people talking about her? Blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And what we found out was that within her profession, only one program that they did in university that's actually separated them from regular medical professionals. And it happens to be the study of nutrition that the other medical professionals do not do. So we had this piece of information that could be used in our education-based marketing campaign, right? Education-based marketing, where you literally can do a comparison between what she does and and what other medical doctors do, and show that in as much as people may think that she may not be as qualified or whatever the case may be, she is doing just as much as them and even more, right? So that was something that we found out. We found out that she also, another thing we found out that she was about to give a talk to an audience of over 100 medical professionals about how she treats with cancer. Now think about it for a second. These medical professionals are the people who the clients that she would like to get. That's who they respect. And these same medical professionals are going to be sitting in a room listening to her. Now, that was something she had and didn't really mention it until I kind of poked and prod. And so, what did we do? We took that information, I hired somebody, and they filmed her talking to these medical professionals. To do what? To use in future campaigns to show that the very people who you, the prospective client, respects and would prefer to work with simply because you don't understand what she does, those very people are looking to her for advice. So how is that going to position her? Right? So clearly we're in a credibility game here. That's what she's trying to do. She's trying to ensure that she can convince people that she has the credibility that maybe they don't believe she has. Let's go further. We also found out that she can prove with statistics, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that there's a specific set of illnesses that doctors like her are proven to be much more effective with than traditional doctors. Now, here's the part that is very specific to what we started off with. We said a function of marketing is to position someone. Now, she could have gone into this market and tried to fight with the other traditional doctors, with all the other illnesses and so forth or whatever. Well, why do that? If you have this particular set of illnesses that you are really good at, and you can prove that you are much better at that than regular traditional doctors, then you position yourself to go only after that area. So all of a sudden, you don't actually have any competition. All right. All right. Let's go. We also found out, and I should have edited this, um, that most people believe that at best, she was a glorified bush doctor. And um, I was at worst glorified bush doctor, and at best, people thought that she was just a really highly qualified herbalist. Now, one of the things that sort of affected her was how she dressed. She dressed in traditional African garb. And so that didn't really help her case, right? With people drawing their conclusions. We have a lot of what you might call it, stereotypical notions of people dressed in a particular way or whatever the case may be. Not getting into whether it's right or wrong, but that was just the situation. So the solution was to actually go on a heavy education campaign so that people understood what she was doing. So we're not even talking about necessarily running after clients. We're talking about education, right? That was going to be her um, way of breaking into this market. As far as how she dressed, well, that was her choice. She could actually, change how she dressed or not. But the point is, at least she became very aware that how she dressed was affecting people's perceptions. It's up to her what she decided to do. So, from a positioning point of view, positioning now, right? We have to position her in relation to the traditional medical professionals who people were looking to, right? We had to position her. And she needed to be positioned in a way that she was as credible or even more credible than them. So, from a positioning point of view, we're able to create materials, videos, charts, write ups, etc., that could be used to make it very clear to people that what she does and who she serves, excuse me, make it very clear to people what she does, who she serves, and how credible she is. So, we're able to put that stuff together. Now, we talked a while ago about promotion, which is the last. If you look at this, you realize the stuff that she was going to promote would be from the work that we did here, figuring out what needed to be promoted in the first place, and then you go promote. That's why I keep saying promotion is the lowest level skill of marketing. Okay? Most people can go on Facebook, learn how the advertising platform works, put a video in there, and then press a button and push it out. That's not skill. I can teach you that in 15 minutes. That's not the skill. Is what are you going to promote? Okay. All right. So that was that example. And again, this is all before she even attempts to get any clients, before she pushes anything out there. All right. So next function of marketing, to explain a complex service. All right. So what was the problem? Hold on. This professional, Onika Henry, people have probably by now tired here to talk about it. This professional is involved in the field of sexology, and it was becoming obvious that the misunderstanding of what she does is a little bit rampant, right? People just, they're sort of not getting it, especially with respect to the fact that she touches her clients pretty much like an osteoporosis. What's the title? Osteopath. Osteopath, sorry. Osteoporosis. An osteopath or physical therapist or whatever the case may be. So what did we do? So we sat down and we took the many layered elements of what she does and we broke them into the constituent parts, adding the types of clients she works with, and then we showed with two specific examples how touch features in her work to get the results the clients are looking for. Right? That was it. So you're not talking about actually going after clients, promotion. No, you're sitting down and you're constructing something based on a problem that you have, whether it be in your marketing or in the perception that people have of what it is you do. And you fix that first before you get to promotion. The result, screenshot from this is her communicating what was told to her by clients who actually saw. One, love the video, great info that was well organized, strategic, and flowed well. And she's communicating and they are comfortable recommending me based on the video alone. So just from seeing the video, not even working with her, they're willing to recommend other people. So again, if you sit and you craft what it is you need to craft before you start promotion, before, then you'll find that your actual promoting can be much more effective. Let's move on. So ultimately, we took a complex product or service and explained it well enough that people were not only became interested in it for themselves, but also felt comfortable enough to recommend it to others after watching the video. All right, to create value, the problem. So we were designing logos for clients and realized that people were turned off from the pricing. And so we had to devise a way to get clients to pay for the logos with less resistance to the pricing. So I think what I'm going to do here, this doesn't cause a problem, is to show you this video. Let me see. All right, so let me at least say this. We created a video that took what seemed to be a simple process and we built up all of its complexity in order to communicate the value someone gets when doing it. Now, if you notice, this is slightly different from what we did before. In the sexologist case, we sat and we broke it down piece by piece and made it simpler to digest and understand. What did we do in this scenario? It's kind of the opposite. We took what you thought was a simple process, which is why you were only willing to pay, in this case, $500. And when we layered it out and explained what really goes into it, and I can tell you what has happened for a fact, client decided I'm willing now to pay $3,000. $3,000 minus $500 is $2,500. The video that we did was 8 minutes, and I think I'm going to skip the video. It was 8 minutes. And so you run the math there, $2,500 divided by 8 minutes is about 800 and something dollars a minute. That is what that was worth for that one client. Obviously, as many clients as you can move from that $500 to $3,000, that's the value per minute that the video is worth. And like I said, I think I'm going to leave the video alone because it's like 8 minutes long. And I don't want to put you through that. But just rest assured, we went through the process, and by the time somebody watched that, it built up the value. That's another thing that marketing does. You can create value. Somebody didn't think something was that valuable before, and when you explain it to them, they're like, "Oh, okay, now I see why it costs that amount of money." So let's move on. So, like I said, we're gonna skip the video. People who initially walked at the price became more amenable to paying for the work because they were more aware of what goes into the process. All right. And in summary, we took a service whose value was attached to the perceived physical and mental work that went into creating the graphic, right? So that's all they were thinking. They were thinking, oh, you're just online, clicking, and da da da. It's not a big deal. And we use both the process of executing added to the possible opportunity cost of not hiring us. Because part of the video showed that if you work with somebody else, what could possibly happen and the headache and so forth. And we added all together. Person was like, okay, all right, well, not just a person, a couple of them, but a few people were like, okay, I get it now. Again, before attempting to even go after the clientele, this is what you do before. Promotion is the last step and the step with the least amount of skill. All right, to figure out what should go into a product. Akila, I think you might like this one. I think you might be familiar with these people. Right. So I was having a conversation with a couple of spoken word artists, and they were thinking of creating a product that taught people how to do spoken word. However, he was unsure. I was dealing with one of them in particular, right? Spoke to them as a group, and then eventually was kind of working with one person. So that's why I'm saying he. He was unsure as to the elements he needed to have within the product to ensure it would appeal. Right? So many people create products and they decide on their own what should go into the product. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I do think you need to get your information from the market. So what did we do? So we went to Amazon and researched all the similar products, um, videos, books, anything else, right? And gleaned from the things people were displeased about, right? These are the things people were displeased about. What we glean from them is that was what this product must have, right? So if people are displeased about this stuff, then you just want to go in the other direction, right? Because clearly people don't like this, so you need to do that, right? So we figured out what this product must have to immediately appeal to its audience. Result, excuse me. We found out, among other things, that people in that were concerned with getting lots and lots of examples to bring the concepts alive. That was one of the complaints that we saw. People just had a problem with not having lots of examples because you can explain something to someone theoretically, conceptually, but the examples are what really bring them alive. And we saw that complaint a lot. The other thing we saw was that people kept saying things like, and who is this person? And who is that person? And so you realize that within that market, people wanted to be taught by somebody who had a brand name. And so if you didn't necessarily come with a brand name, as they would not necessarily have come with a brand name, they would have certainly had to spend some time showing people that even though they didn't know them, other people knew them. And these guys were actually pretty credible and actually did have a brand. It was just kind of small. But again, let's be real. The only reason that people want a brand name is because to them, that signals that this person is good. And so if you can do a good job of showing that you are well known, that you have been received and acknowledged and accredited and blah, 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 you could actually make up for that, right? But going into it, knowing that that is what people want, arms you. So instead of guessing as to the needs of people who are interested in being taught spoken, you're able to tease out the features that you're looking for. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do, I think I'll skip that as well. I don't want to get messed up with the technology, so I'm going to do that. I was going to actually show you all a sheet with a lot of the information, but again, that we pulled out from the market. I'll leave it. So let's go back for a little bit. So the research we gathered gave us this. And I'm not going to get into this too much, but what we did was we looked at all of the claims that we could make. We call them claims of value that we could make that would make somebody think, okay, yes, this thing is worth it. And we have this system here where you rank them, right? So you have an appeal and exclusivity. Appeal means, okay, how much would somebody want it, right? That thing, how much would somebody want it? So that's appeal. I want it means appeal. And then exclusivity is, well, do you have it alone? Or only maybe one or two other persons have it. And then you sort of multiply those out, right? And then you get a score, and then you decide which one of those things you're going to lead with. Because you're going to lead with the thing that you're strongest at, right? All right. So let's go to this other one to figure out what to name your book, or maybe name another product. So the problem. An agriculturist wanted to write a book as part of his marketing campaign and needed to figure out what the book should be called. The other book names in the market didn't necessarily appeal, but more than that, we didn't know if they appealed to the market. Because we didn't know how those people came up with those book names. Maybe they just decided to come up with the book names. So they didn't appeal to us, and we couldn't tell whether they appealed to the market, right? So what did we do? We did the same thing. Went to Amazon, researched all the reviews of competitor titles to see what people said about them in terms of complaints, in order to see what were the things we need to do in order to ensure that we would stand out above the rest. Result, we found out what people liked and didn't like about the other titles, but we also recognized that most outstanding complaint was the lack of a step-by-step approach to creating an aquaculture product. People talked about a lot of the technical stuff and all the nitty-gritty details and how it was confusing and blah blah blah. So I think I'm gonna um, make this a little bit smaller just so that you can see this. Let's see, maybe I'll put this up. So based on that, the book was named "How to Grow Tilapia for Fun and Profit: A Lay Person's Guide to Growing Tilapia to Adulthood Without All the Technical Jargon That Makes Your Head Hurt." So we're basically promising people that, unlike everything else they've seen in the market, we're taking out all that stuff that makes your head hurt. Now think about it. If you've been in the market and maybe you checked out one product before, or maybe two, or and when I say check out, you can check out either by just reviewing it online or you actually bought it or whatever the case. And you see a title like this, it's promising you that something you've been experiencing, you will not experience with this one. Is it enough to make you take the plunge? I don't know. But it's a better title than going in there with something that you think is catchy and you're not addressing the market in terms of how the market has been feeling about the products that it's been exposed to thus far. Right. So let's go again. Okay. So basically, I'm just giving a summary here, but it's the same thing as in the spoken word example. So we're not going to spend so much time here. Right? We did the same thing. We use the market to give us some of the insight into what features would be wise to include in our product. And let's move this again. And make no mistake, the title of your book is a feature of the book. It is a feature of the book. In some cases, it is what ultimately sells your book. So don't think that the title is not a feature. The title is a feature of your book. All right. So let's go again. So let's see, went back. All right. So some of the other things you do with marketing. Um, it shouldn't say two, it should say four. Four restorative public relations work. I'm not going to get into that too much. I think most of you all sort of get that, politicians, schools, any entity that wants to continue looking good in the public and needs, to turn something positive into something negative rather into something positive. Or if you can't turn the negative into a positive, certainly make it less negative. So that's kind of obvious, right? We don't need to really spend a whole lot of time on that. And the last thing, the thing that requires the least skill to do promotion, keep saying it all night, is the least of the Mohicans when it comes to marketing. So presentation tonight is not long. We pretty much, got to the end. But I kind of wanted to talk about this because I think a lot of people, when they think of marketing, all they think about is promotion. And I think that's why a lot of people think that they can do it very easily because they see the end and it's running an ad. But there's a lot more that can go or that should go into your marketing. There's a lot more analysis, there's a lot more research, there's just a lot more, I would say, skill in recognizing what somebody may or may not need. So I thought this was, really good to actually get into tonight. So what I'm going to do now that I've come to the end is actually take a look at the screen and let me um, let me see what you're saying. Let me see here. Um, Monica, can you leave a link to the video or comments about the video in the description area? Like, okay, so that was a logo video about the logo. That's the only video I had was about the logo. Um, yeah, I can do that. Let's see here. Let's grab the link, put it in the comments. All right. So tell me, do you all have, any questions? Does anybody have a question about the presentation? Or just more sort of a general question about marketing? Um, any just any thoughts or any suggestions or like I said, questions. What do you all what do you all want to know and what did you all think of the presentation in terms of what may have been revealed that you hadn't really thought about um, when you typically think about marketing? So I'm gonna look across here and see. Okay, so Zola, all right, so let's go back to me and let's do this. So Zola says this is good information. Thank you, Zola. Avril, well, I guess that was early on Avril, so yes. Mm. Nika says, haven't seen that movie. Sounds like a must watch. Okay, yes. Pretty good movie. Will you leave the link to the video? Yes, Ruth. I'll leave the link to the video. Question. So for folks who don't need marketing, would doing any kind of marketing or promotion be useful to them? Um, again, marketing has a purpose and even the particular aspects of marketing. So one of the things that you should have been able to do tonight is when you're looking at and I said aspects of marketing, but let's use the language used tonight, functions of marketing. When you look at the functions of marketing, it's very easy for you to reverse engineer whether or not you either A, need marketing or whether or not an aspect or a function of it would be useful. Could you just go? You said, okay, do I need to create value? Yes or no? Do I need to position myself versus somebody else in the market? Yes or no? Um, from the public relations point of view, do I need to fix some perception out there? Yes or no? So it's just sort of very easy, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to break down functions of marketing. Because it's very easy to just look back now and just say, okay, this, yes, this, no, this. All right. So yeah, that would be my general answer to that question, Anika. Just check the list and see which one applies to you, which one doesn't. Right. And so, Anika, yes, it could be a waste of money if after you check it you realize you don't need that stuff. So Ruth asks, should we use social media primarily for free marketing? So the way people look at social media, it seems, is that you go online, you post some stuff, and then people respond. You post back some stuff, and then people respond. What I have said to people is this: let's stop thinking about social media as if it's something that's any different from the radio or the TV or magazines, because quite frankly, it isn't. All media is, at least in the marketing world, is any entity that has aggregated a bunch of eyeballs, whether it be the TV or magazines, but I guess the radio would be a bunch of ears, right? And that's what Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest, all of them, they have a bunch of eyeballs. And what you want to do is get in front of those eyeballs. Now, for most people, because it's social media and they're on there free every day, they think that the best way to do it is just that, jump on and do stuff for free. I would say that if you do the work that you need to do before you get to promotion, right? You do your, as we say, your avatar work, where you figure out who your ideal customer is, and you figure out what the problems are that you need to solve, and what you need to make clear about your product and your services and so forth. And then you create this ad. Then what you do is you go on Facebook and you run an ad. You're not playing this social media game, typing a bunch of stuff and hoping that people respond. You're going to run an ad. And you're running an ad by going into Facebook and selecting based on all the different demographic information they have and some psychographic information, the kinds of people who you think are going to respond to that ad. And that is how I would use social media for the most part. All the other stuff is fine. I mean, what I'm doing right now, I guess, yeah, social media, I do this live, Monica does a live and so forth, or whatever. But that's not going to be the primary way that we're going to go after people. I think from about next week, we're going to be starting running our ads. Because for us, it's not social media, it's a nice term, but it's just another entity that has aggregated eyeballs. And go advertise to those eyeballs. So that's how I would use social media, just like I would use newspapers or magazines. So let's Zola says, at what point after the other considerations, such as creating awareness, value, positioning, should you feel comfortable to start promotions? Um, Marketing ultimately, or marketing message ultimately is supposed to answer a question. And the primary question is, after someone listens to your marketing message, is this for me? Is this for me? Meaning, I have a problem, and was the stuff or the information that was said on this particular ad or in this particular ad, does it sound like it's for me? So, what that means is, if you feel that after you've done your awareness, but you can't really create awareness unless you push stuff out, I guess. Right? But maybe you're talking about creating awareness through free social media, right? But once you have answered the question, you feel as though you have answered the question. When you think about that target person, and you think about that person looking at that ad or listening to it or whatever, if you feel as though you have answered that question sufficiently that that person will take the next step. Now, the next step could be to buy what you have, or the next step could be to jump on a webinar to hear more, right? So in that case, you're not selling the product, you're selling the webinar, right? Any step you want them to take after, you are selling them on that step. So if you feel you've Answer the question: is this webinar for me? Is this product for me? Start your promotions. As long as you feel you've answered that question thoroughly, start your promotions. Love the question, by the way, Zola. Ruth, did you get an adequate response to your question? Put it back again. Should we use social media primarily for free marketing? Right. So I think I said no, don't use it primarily for free marketing. Use it for paid marketing. Free is nice, but paid is when you really get in front of people. All right. Akila, no question from Akila. I've been talking to Akila for years, so I think Akila pretty much knows everything that I've ever said. So that's probably why she doesn't have any questions. Is that true, Akila? All right. Hearing a buzzing sound. Is that a phone? Yes. Oh, okay. It's like one of my buddies, Brian. Brian, I'll talk to you later. All right. So if we don't have any other questions, um, at least don't have the questions right now, it might make sense for me to take my leave. But here's what I'll say. Um, I check on this video, or I check on these videos after the show is done. And so if another question comes to you, I would go right below the video in the comments and ask your question. I'll be happy to answer whatever question you have, if you just write it down there. So I'm just going to check again one more time, see if I have any more questions. All right. It doesn't look like I do. So that's it for this week. Next week, I think I'm going to be doing quite possibly an open Q&A where people can just come and just ask questions about marketing. I may or may not change my mind depending on what comes up, but I'm thinking about doing that. And I'm starting to consider whether once a week is enough or if I should go to twice a week. Um, but I'd have to figure out what kind of format I'm looking at because I don't want to really be doing the same type of thing all the time. So, with that, have a good night, and I will see you all next week. And I just realized that I probably didn't maintain that smile I'm supposed to maintain while I'm doing this all the time. But that's fine. It'll get better as the weeks go by. I'll continue to be a little bit more conscious, smiling all the time. Anyways, have a good night.